Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sean Brodrick, senior editor at WeissRatings.com. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Thanks for having me on.
Sean, in Canada, pot was legalized about a year ago. Edibles are about to become legal. Is there a lot of action in the marijuana space right now?
There isn't, and I have to tell you that the Canadian cannabis stocks have been dragging down the entire industry. It's just been horrible. However, just this week we saw the industry as a group rally, and that's due to another Canadian cannabis stock, Aphria. And Aphria reported earnings, and it was actually kind of a surprise that yes, they actually had positive earnings for the second quarter in a row, and that seemed to spark a rally in the cannabis space on Tuesday that was quite exciting, and we saw many things which had been weighed down forever really move higher, including some that don't deserve it, frankly. But maybe this is a turning point. The sentiment in the industry had gotten extremely negative. And so we finally get some good news from one of the big companies. Aphria is one of the big cannabis companies. Now, you will hear the naysayers say that the only reason Aphria turned a profit was because of the way they do their accounting. And because of adding all those things up, they actually were able to make a profit on paper. It's not from actually selling pot. Other people will say, well, you know what? So many companies have weird books nowadays that that's not that unusual. And it did give the industry a spark of life for a while. I have noticed that the stocks in our Marijuana Millionaire portfolio rallied quite hard on Tuesday, and they're only giving a little bit back on Wednesday. So let's see how the cannabis stocks close this week. I think it could be an important week for cannabis stocks, because if that low holds, then if things can actually start out higher next week, that may be the low. Because I can tell you, many stocks in this industry really got oversold, and there are some that are actually bargains that actually make money. And so, it could be time to start bottom fishing in this industry. I'm not in a rush, though. I just think people should wait until Friday or next week and see if we get follow through on the rally. But it certainly is interesting, and a nice change from the downward depressive cycle that we have seen in cannabis stocks since at least April. I mean, that is a long time to see this industry under pressure. Now, some people will say this is due to Cannabis 2.0, the fact that Canada's rolling out all these edibles and all that stuff, and I'm in a show me kind of mood on that, because I've heard that kind of talk before. I just think that what happened was there was a tremendous buildup of bearish sentiment, so any kind of good news, just really sent the industry higher. And for a while even, good news was being treated as bad news, which is a real sign that you're in a bear market. But Cresco Labs, just to give you one example, and that's a stock that's in the Marijuana Millionaire portfolio, that came out with some news that it has some operations in Illinois that just received adult use approval. It has 5 existing Illinois dispensaries. And so the stock is up on the news when the rest of the sector is down. It's up 1.5%. So if we are getting back to the place where good news is being treated as good news again, because for a while it wasn't. For months it was not. Any news at all on a stock would send it lower. But if we're getting back to where good news is treated as good news, then you can start buying select cannabis stocks again. So, as I said, this is a very interesting week for cannabis stocks. We have to see how it ends. And we need to see follow-through on that tremendous rally from Tuesday. But, this is the kind of area where a bottom will form. And there is traditionally an autumn rally in cannabis, so this would not surprise me at all.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after this.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the 2019 drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Is gold going to keep going higher?
It will, but it has to finish pulling back, which is probably the snotty answer that your listeners were not hoping for. But here's the thing. We saw, since, what was it, May? A 20% rally in gold, right? It just took off and much higher. That was fantastic, got up to around 1550. And ran into some serious overhead resistance, probably because people had a 20% rally under their belts. They decided to take some gains. And now, over September, October, it's moved lower. Not a lot, but pulling back. Just doing ordinary support and resistance, you could make a good case for gold moving another 4% lower before it takes off again. So I'm quite bullish on gold longer term, even intermediate term. But in the short term, it wouldn't surprise me to see gold pull back a bit more. That said, the day you and I are talking, gold's up nicely because there were poor economic numbers in the U.S., which makes people think that the Fed has a open door to cut rates again, which I think they would anyway due to pressure from President Trump. And there is the fact that the Fed has now started a new quantitative easing program, which they are refusing to call quantitative easing. But they are buying $60 billion worth of U.S. Treasuries every month now. And this could continue on toward the second quarter of 2020. And so you have to wonder why they're providing so much liquidity to a market they say is healthy. I think the market isn't healthy. They know it, and they're just trying to prop it up. When the Fed has done QE in the past, we have seen stock prices inflate, and we've seen the price of gold go higher. That's because there's all this money sloshing around in the system, right? And it has to find someplace to go. The banks literally have more cash on hand than they know what to do with. So they buy stocks, they buy gold, and things like silver and stuff like that. So I think that this is a positive development for gold, the Fed having this new, let's not call it QE program. I don't know if it's actually positive for the market and the economy longer term, because what are they worried about? I can think of a short list of things, but they may have their own list. So I think there are some bullish things happening for gold right now. It's in a consolidation phase after its recent run-up. That consolidation will end sooner rather than later. Another 4% lower is my target. And if it does that, that would be a great spot for a bounce and a great spot for gold and miners to really take off again.
Should people be stocking up on gold and silver, with silver being more affordable?
Well, and also, when there's a bull market, silver tends to outperform. It always does. Silver is the drama queen of the precious metals. When things are down, silver gets laying down on the floor and weeping. When things are up in the precious metals, silver is dancing around the room going higher and higher. So, yes, if you're a speculator, you buy silver because it always outperforms in either direction. And if you think the big trend in precious metals is higher, silver is going to lead that trend.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after this.
Cypress Development Corp is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, we have the success, no success, maybe success U.S.-China trade talks. What's your opinion on what's going on there?
Well, it's been no success at all. Honest to God, Wall Street should adopt Charlie Brown as a mascot because, Lucy keeps setting up the football and they keep kicking at it and they keep falling on their backs every time. Now, I think we've reached a point where the market takes these pronouncements about the trade deal with a huge grain of salt. So it moves the market a bit, but not a lot either way. On the optimistic side, we have to be optimistic about these things. There is slow progress being made on some kind of trade deal. What that trade deal will look like and when it'll actually be done is anybody's guess. But at least both sides want a trade deal. They just have to agree on what that trade deal is. But it is positive that, no one's, walking away from the table saying, oh, those guys are jerks, we never want to deal with them again, stuff like that. So at least that's not happening. I think that there is optimism to think that we'll have a trade deal. I'd say, sometime after the new year. I don't expect one before that. But if there's hints that, something solid that is actually being done, then we might see the market start to buy that. But right now, every announcement about, we have, 90% of the trade deal done, it turns out to be completely false. And so it's hard to take anything like that as actually being true until we're actually shown the final results.
For people looking at the worldwide economy, what kind of a picture do you think we're looking at?
Well, was it the IMF or the OCED? I can't remember. One of those big organizations just came out and slashed their prediction for global growth again, getting perilously close toward a recession for 2020. That's the general consensus. Now, the general consensus can be wrong. It often is wrong. But maybe it's going to be worse than the market thinks. One saving grace that the global economy has and the global markets have is that the central banks don't take that kind of thing lying down anymore, and they will print money from here to eternity in order to prop up the market and the global economy. They will give away loans to companies that shouldn't get those loans. They will stuff people's pockets full of money as they walk out the door. They say, build this project, do this, and all that stuff. So I expect there will be some of that. They won't take it lying down. We won't go easily into a recession. That said, the business cycle is the business cycle. We are late cycle by just about anyone's measure. So saying that there's going to be a recession in 2020 isn't actually a huge leap. It's actually, that is what would happen ordinarily unless the world's central banks are able to finagle their way out of it by cranking up the printing presses and doing other things. Certainly that's why they have negative rates in places like Switzerland and Germany and other countries around the world, mainly Europe, but other countries around the world. And, that's a new tried and true track where if people were taking a 20-year bond, they're going to get less money at the end of it than they had at the start. That's an interesting way to do things. I don't know how any business is going to survive doing that, but that just shows that, maybe they should not be buying bonds and they should be buying other things with more growth potential. And so that's one of the many crazy things that the central banks are willing to try, because they aren't going to accept a recession lying down. So, I think people should definitely keep their eyes on the central banks. I think that we should have slow to lower growth, but if there is going to be money injected into the markets by central banks around the world, that means that asset prices can go much higher. Things like real estate and gold and silver and even stocks can all go higher despite a moribund economy. So, people, I think, should be prepared to be surprised by 2020 is the way I would put it.
Sean, how would you sum up the situation right now then?
Well, I'm seeing a good opportunity in gold. I think we are seeing a necessary correction right now, but all the fundamentals that were in place before are right there. We are seeing the big money start to pick up physical gold. We're seeing central banks picking up more and more physical gold. This is going to be an outstanding year for central bank purchases of gold. It's like wild, and like nothing we've seen in many, many years. So when you look at that, I think there are certain assets you can look at that can be quite good. We've had extreme negativity in the cannabis sector for months now, as I just explained. If we've reached a turning point in that, there will be tremendous opportunities there as well. Again, people should watch the close this week in the major cannabis indices and see how things look, and in the major cannabis stocks as well. See how they end the week, and if they've put in a higher low, if they've really been able to reverse out of that circling the drain motion they were in for months, that would be a great opportunity there. One other sector I think that is undervalued right now is oil, because again, everybody thinks it's going lower, and yet if you look at the numbers out of OPEC, and I'll have this in my monthly wealth megatrends issue, which comes out next week. If you look at the monthly figures from OPEC, global supply is actually going down, while global demand, for all the hand-wringing that we've seen about it, is still going up. There seems to be a small gap opening up there. Yes, there are stockpiles to fill that gap, but it's the sentiment that creates, that puts a more bullish spin on the market. So we've seen oil prices beaten down for a long time. I think there could be some upside there as well. So maybe 2020 will turn out to be a year for select natural resources. If we see the central banks continue to pump money into the system, then you want to position yourself now in things like real estate and gold and oil. And again, the more money gets pumped into the system, the more the broad stock market will go higher. So I don't think people looking at stocks, this is separate from the economy, but looking at stocks, they shouldn't be that pessimistic. I think things could, be sideways to up for the stock market. And so that's actually not a bad place to be, especially if you're in stocks that pay nice dividends.
Sean, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks. I had a great time.
My guest has been Sean Brodrick, Senior Editor at WeissRatings.com. If you have any questions for Sean or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@HowStreet.com. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.